for the whole country, right? Americans obviously heard of Chinese food. They've generally had it. It's kind of become something of a cultural institution almost in a way. But like Chinese food as a whole, like how would you kind of describe that to someone, let's say, who had like never had it before? Or if they were like less familiar with it?
Yeah. I'd say, like authentic Chinese food is actually very different than American Chinese food. Although I really love American Chinese food, I think it's also good.
It's good. It is good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think, the authentic Chinese food is very diverse. Like there are just so many of them, and sometimes like people don't really have not heard about things that are like hot pot, or like a lot of like street food. Like you can't really find it in the US. I feel like the taste is also very different than American Chinese food, because American Chinese food is more just kind of sweeter in general. But like the authentic Chinese food can be like so many different ways.
Are there, now even like with the US, right, or any big country where you've got certain regional varieties, but there'll still be kind of national dishes, right? Where it's like kind of doesn't matter where you are, there are gonna be certain, stereotypical American food would be like a hamburger, right? Like you're gonna find that kind of everywhere. It's not like a regional dish. For China, are there sort of like national dishes in a way? And I don't mean just like ingredients, like, like this type of vegetable or starch, but like an actual dish where like kind of wherever you are, like you might be able to find that, or is it like very much region by region with food?
Can I say rice?
That's fine. Yeah, well, I was thinking that actually, that like you're gonna find rice probably everywhere.
No, I'm kidding. I think like the national food is definitely dumpling.
Okay.
It's also very international. Like it doesn't, like I feel like it's for like the globally, like all the Chinese people, it doesn't matter where they live, like on Chinese New Year they will eat dumplings.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common, universal.
Okay. And the fillings for those can be like, it could be vegetable, pork, beef, chicken.
Yeah, you can have very different stuffings.
And whatever. But essentially that concept of it's a starch wrapped around some kind of filling is like pretty universal.
Starch?
Starch being like something made out of grain or something made out of rice. So a carbohydrate, like, you're making the shell
flour,
of the dumpling. Yeah,
right?
you're making something out of flour, whether it's rice flour or wheat flour or something, and that's wrapped around like a meat or a vegetable or a meat and vegetable kind of filling. Yeah. Are there any other than dumplings, like anything else that would be
noodles?
Yeah, noodles. Okay. So
noodles.
Yeah.
There's also like so many different kinds of noodles.
Interesting. And does that vary also by region in terms? I mean, I'd assume like the kind of like what flavors you're gonna get with noodles, but that base at least of.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's definitely. I feel like in southern China, people usually will eat more like rice noodle, but in the north we usually just eat like, I think it's made of wheat.
Yeah, I understand that is a bit of a difference with diet in China, that the south half of China is much more based around rice and the northern parts are much more based around like wheat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. And then, I mean, I guess just in your personal experience when it comes to food in, China versus in the US, you mentioned that food in China is much less sweet. There's less like of a, not quite sugary, but that sort of sweet and sour flavor in it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've noticed, like comparing American Chinese food to, actual
actual Chinese food can be really spicy. Yeah, a lot of like, I think also like the spicy level in Chinese food is way way higher than American Chinese food.
Okay. Yeah. And then sort of, are there different, I guess, regional variations that sort of you're familiar with Chinese food? Like you could say, this region of China food is more like this, and this region it has a different kind of.
Yeah, of course, because like China is a huge country, and then the culture is super different. It's also because geographically, like they have different lands. For example, as we just talked about, like northern people, like the food is mostly based on wheat. I think what happens is probably because of the land over there. It's more like easier to grow wheat, as opposed to in the south, it's easier to grow rice.
Yeah.
And other than that, I feel like in northern food is more like just saltier. It's kind of salty and it could be like spicy, but I'd say like in the south there's also like different parts of south, right? So for example in like area like Shanghai and Zhejiang and like Guangdong. So they're very close. They were literally just by ocean.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of seafood, and it's definitely not spicy.
Okay.
And the taste is a little bit sweet. In Shanghai food is very sweet, but Guangdong is different. It's not that sweet. But if you go to like southwest, where is Chongqing and Chengdu, is very spicy.
Okay.
But honestly, I think Sichuan, I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Sichuan food,
It's literally the most popular food in China.
Yeah.
Like it literally.
Okay.
Yeah, Sichuan, like you can find it everywhere in China. Like that's like, I'd say, it's very, very common. Like if you want to find like a Sichuan restaurant, it's just everywhere in China.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
very interesting, yeah. Yeah, I'm a little familiar with that, and I think there are a couple spots now in the US that are serving sort of more, like spicy Sichuan noodles.